before we move further to the topic, I'd like to talk about two things. One's digitization and the other is digitalization. We need to understand these two topics before we understand the topic. So what's digitization? Digitization simply means turning anything that's in a physical state to digits, so that a machine can read it to a machine-readable language. That's digitization. And what's digitalization? So digitalization means using the digitization in a business process. It's called digitalization. So I'll give you a very real-time example of it so that it'll help you understand more. And my example is my friend's grandma, who is almost 80 years old. She has an iPhone and she uses Facebook in it. And she is even capable enough to scroll through the post and like the pictures, and she is also able to comment. She doesn't know any English language, but she's able to type in RAM, RO, Ramro. And she does it in every picture actually. So is this digitalization? It is digitalization. Why? Because what used to happen before is, even my parents are in the US, and when they used to come, they used to bring a lot of pictures with them, hard copy pictures. And our grandma, they used to take the pictures and they used to do the same thing. They used to scroll through the pictures and say Ramro, that's it. So now my grandma is using technology in the same form as she used to do with the physical products. And so what's digitalization in this is, all the pictures got digitalized, so they turned into digits. And Facebook, they use that as a business process to provide services as an entertainment, or to provide services to people. So that's digitalization. And some of you might be wondering, even we use Facebook. We like pictures, we type a huge amount of comments, so that's digitalization as well. So the reason behind me saying iPhone and referring it to our grandmas or my grandma, I'll talk about that in a later part in my session. There's a reason behind me involving these two scenarios. So first thing I need everyone to understand is, here we'll not be only talking about what technologies can we use to digitalize, and all the technical terms like RFID chips or beacons or those kind of things. We'll more go in general. First we'll talk about how we can encourage people. First we need to have a platform, to use that platform to later on digitalize Nepal. So first we'll be talking about the platform. How can we create a platform? So for that I have divided that into two sections. That is who can digitalize Nepal, and how first. And in the who I have divided into three sections. That's who is responsible, who is capable, and who is interested in digitalizing Nepal. So first let's start with who is responsible. So basically the first entity responsible to initiate digital Nepal is the government of Nepal, which they have already, I don't know if everyone knows about it, but we have already started to go to a digital world, which is happening. And the second entity responsible for digitalizing Nepal is all of us. Because whatever you do, whatever digital technologies, whatever new technologies comes in the market, if we do not use it, it doesn't matter. It's not of any purpose. And who is capable? Who is capable of digitalizing Nepal? So basically, I don't know if everyone or some of you are from an IT background here. There are lots of big IT enterprises in Nepal as well who are doing a lot of big projects. I do not know much examples of that's happening inside Nepal, but I know some examples that's happening in an international level. And the biggest factor that I think we need to consider of capability of digitalizing Nepal are the IT startups. There are a huge number of startups at the moment. When we started, I didn't know about the number of startups that were registering as an IT company now, but what I see now is, even around my house, there are 4 houses, and on the basement, everyone has an IT company. Everyone has an idea, everyone has an IT company. And even my father and my mother, they always tell me, everyone has an IT company and everyone likes to work in an IT company. So so we definitely need to focus on the startups as well. And who is interested? So everyone's interested at the moment in IT, in digitalizing Nepal. On top of that, I think the bigger stakeholders, the people who are currently business owners, and even like the big enterprise, IT enterprises and startups, all of them are very interested and they're eagerly looking forward to digitalizing Nepal. So now let's move towards how. How can this be done? How can we make people more responsible in digitalizing Nepal? How can we increase the capability, and how can we bring more interested people towards digitalizing Nepal? So first, let's talk about how we can make people more responsible. Like I said, the government is the initial factor who is responsible in initiating the digitalizing process, and it has already started, like I said. So from my point of view, what needs to be done from the government side is, as we know, like digitalization in Nepal is just at the start. It's just starting. And like I said, I gave you a link to the example. It doesn't mean like people in Kathmandu, Pokhara, Bhaktapur having iPhones and using all those technology doesn't mean Nepal is digital. It's just the start. Like when we use the digitalization process to support the economic growth of our country, then that's called a digitalized country. So to do that, I think from my point of view, what the government needs to do now is they need to introduce certain incentives, like a tax holiday kind of program for any business or any startups that are willing to work on a digital platform, to go to rural places, to look at all the sectors in Nepal and give their inputs, give their ideas, and as a business as well, of course. So I think that needs to be one of the most, that needs to be the highest priority of the government. To at least, not as a zero tax or free of cost, but at least for 5, maybe a government can give a rule like, you start a digital business, work on the health sector for this kind of thing, then you'll have tax holiday for the next 3 years. Or maybe until you have certain amount of return of investment. So I think that's what needs to be done from a government point of view. And this is one of the, I'll link an example with this as well, and this is one of the, since we are actually a startup as well, so what I feel now is, what I haven't felt in Nepal is, all these startups, like I said, there are a huge number of startups in Nepal, and they have fresh minds, they are well known to technology. Actually, they are even more technical than the higher level enterprise. They are equipped with new technology, new ideas, because like IT field, if anyone is a student of IT, they know that the IT industry is changing every day. There are new technologies, new frameworks, new libraries coming out every single day. If you do not catch up with it, you are far behind. So that's why I feel like startups need to be involved from the start, from the planning phase. Like for example, what I would like is, if there is a planning going on to digitalize the healthcare sector of Nepal, not only the high-end people, not only the government, not only the ministry, but maybe the initial phase can be with the ministry, but from the second level, you need to announce, you need to introduce all the IT enterprises, all the startups, not all, most of the startups, to join the planning session, so that you have a brainstorming session, you can come up with new ideas, new thinking, new power. So I think that needs to be done. I'll give you an example. So what I mean by this is, ideas don't come all the time. Maybe it can come anywhere, like while walking on the road, while driving, while eating, anything. So I'll give you an example. As we all know, Sir Isaac Newton was the one who discovered gravity, right? So it's not that he didn't see anything falling throughout his youth. He discovered it when he was a youth. So he must have juggled balls, he must have played some sports, everything came down. But he never realized that it was coming down. But one day while he was sitting beside a tree, an apple fell, and then he started thinking, why did it fall down? Why did it not go up? So that's how gravity, the theory of gravity and everything started, right? So the main thing that I wanted to focus behind this example is being at the right place at the right time. So this is the main reason I talked about having startups and all these IT enterprises to get involved from the beginning of the project, not after the discussion or in a later phase. So this is one of the things that the government can do. And like I said, the other entity responsible is us. Whatever you do, whatever the big IT enterprises come up with, whatever comes out in the market, if we do not use it, and if we still continue using the old tools and techniques, then it doesn't work that way, it doesn't go forward that way. So we are equally responsible in digitalizing Nepal. And the other part now. So we talked about responsible, now we're talking about capability. Who is capable of digitalizing Nepal? Like I gave a certain example a while ago. All these big IT companies and startups, they're equally able to digitalize Nepal. How would I say this? At the moment, even us and other IT companies, we're working with very high-scale projects, but not in Nepal. We're working with big-scale projects from Germany and from the US. But we're not doing the same in Nepal. Why? Because there's no platform, there's no initiative on that platform. Not only us, even the big companies, they are doing the same. Like I'll give you an example here. We're working with a water filtration plant in Germany. They have these huge acres and acres of water filtration hardwares. And they have those platforms not only in Germany, but in India, America, South Africa, and lots of other places all around the world. And so what we did, we created a system that takes in any kind of data, and you just need to test the data, fill in the chemical compositions of the water, and just select is it seawater or a well water or what kind of water it is, and then you press calculate. And what our system does is, it calculates all the chemical composition of that water, and then it gives you processes and the required amount of other chemicals, anything that you can add to make the water safe. So we're doing that. So we developed that system for them, and we're looking after it as well now. But the same thing can be done in Nepal as well. We do have water filtration plants in Nepal as well, but none of us have a system, and it takes. So introducing a system is like, it just saves time, it saves energy for everyone. The filtration process is happening in Nepal as well, but everything is manual. You need to test it. It takes a huge amount of time. So the same thing can be done in Nepal as well. But what's stopping us? The biggest thing that's stopping not only us, but major IT companies in Nepal is the return of their investment. What happens abroad is we do have to invest a lot of resources to have the system, to support the system, to maintain the system as well. But in Nepal, still, we do not have that amount of return. So that's why all these bigger companies and even us, we're not completely involved in Nepal. So like I said a while ago, if we have certain provisions, we have certain incentives to work in Nepal, I believe even us and all the other companies will definitely get involved in all these kind of things to digitalize Nepal. And the other capable are, like I said, I have already talked about it, startups. And startups, they need the management committee or whoever is managing our IT sectors in Nepal, they have to completely, at the moment, focus on startups, because to get bigger companies involved will take time, because they are already established. The startups are always looking for new ideas, new technologies, to have beacons all around Kathmandu, all around tourist places, to have RFID chips, to have image sensors, face recognition sensors and everything. They are interested in these kind of things. The bigger enterprise will take a bit of time to go into that amount of risk, because startups, they can easily take risk. So I think they need to be involved. And in capability, how can we make startups more capable? So this is one of the major points I think we need to focus on, and that is, for startups, they do not have enough amount of money. They have the knowledge, but they are not able to use, buy the resources or get the resources to comply with their knowledge. So I think we need to have a rental platform as well in Nepal, where the startups could rent the resources and pay as they grow in revenue. And the other one is business incubators. I don't know how many of you are familiar with incubators. We do not have much incubators in Nepal. When I was in Germany last month, and there we have a company in Germany as well, and then our clients in Germany as well. So when we go there, there's a section where they have incubators, and incubators is just their product where they introduce startups. They bring in startups, they help them. They help them with the resources, they help them with ideas, and they clear their vision. Because everyone has a vision, but sometimes it's not that clear. So what do business incubators do? They plan their vision so that it's perfectly clear for them, and they teach them how to work to achieve the vision. So this is one of the things that we have to start in Nepal as well. We have to develop in a very rapid pace. That's business incubators. And I give you an example. So now who's interested? Like I said, everyone's almost interested in digitalizing Nepal. And the major interest, I think people have, certain kind of people have major interest. That's bigger IT companies. They want to do something different for Nepal, and even companies like us who are like above startups but not as an enterprise level. So even and startups. So they are very interested. And now, like I talked about this in our office as well once, and everyone was saying, so you're telling me everyone's interested. You're focused, everyone's interested for like 50 times by now. So why is no one working? Why is no one investing in the IT sector? In developing new products, new technologies? Because what's happening now is, like I said, the up and foremost example is they see the risk. Because still at the moment, like I'll give you an example, even I was terrified that time. We recently had a scenario when all these ISP providers, they were threatening to ban the internet from Kathmandu as NEA didn't allow them to use the poles for their links. So we're in this kind of scenario. So if an ISP or private company in Nepal will threaten the entire digitalization process, so no stakeholder would ever invest in these kind of scenarios. So now first we need to have the stability in these kind of platforms. We need to, the stakeholders, they need to be secure in investing in the IT sector. And also we do not have, at the moment, we do not have much examples. We do have some examples like Tutel, they're doing a very good job. We have eSeva, who are doing a very good job. But it's limited. We do not have huge amount of examples, huge amount of success examples. Because I go to different meetings with stakeholders. I pitch them my idea of what we can do and how we can improve certain facts, certain aspects of Nepal and all those things. But yes, they are interested. And everyone tell me it's a very good thing, it will be a very good project, but they are not willing to invest. The major concern is IT is changing. What happens after 2 months? What happens after 6 months? So definitely a lot of awareness has to be spread with from the government level actually, because we as a company will be able to aware people in a certain level, but we will not be able to globally or nationally spread awareness about spending, about investing in the digital world to digitalize Nepal. So yeah, so basically I've concluded who and how. So who is capable, who is responsible, and how can it be done. So now we'll move into the second part of the session, that's the technical side of the session, where I'll be talking about 3 major sectors in Nepal, which if digitalized, or it's going on, but if digitalized will have a huge impact in Nepal, financially and for the overall growth of the country. So there are many sectors that can be digitalized because, like I said, we're just in the initial phase of digitalization. So there are many sectors that can be digitalized, but I'll be talking about 3 sectors today. And the first one is agriculture, the second one is healthcare, and the third one is tourism, which I believe are the major sectors in Nepal, which when digitalized will have a huge impact on the country. So let's first talk about agriculture. So from primary level, all of us have been studying agriculture is the major occupation in Nepal. Almost 3/4 of our population is involved in agriculture. We have studied that, but still, it was like 15, 20 years ago that we have studied that, but still, there are no any provisions, any strategies to grow our agriculture, to increase our produce, so that we could use the same produce that's in Nepal for Nepal. So still we are one of the highest in imports, right? So everyone knows that. So let's not go into that, but so the problems. So I have divided this in a simple way so that it's easy for everyone to understand. First we'll talk about the problems that we have, and then we'll talk about potential solutions through digitalization, what can be done to solve the problems. So the first problem that we have for agriculture is it's still in a very primitive level. It hasn't gone, let alone digitalization, but still we're not using the proper tools and technology in agriculture field. So what's happening now is we do not have real info, the real data behind the farmers or the people involved in agriculture do not have real data on the weather forecast. They do not have real marketing cost, the cost in the market, what's happening to all the vegetables and how has the cost increased or decreased. So they do not have all those ideas. And the other ones is, and the crops, And the major part is we do not have an idea, the farmers, they do not have, they are not getting the data of they do a harvest, but they do not know if it's yielding in a proper manner, if it's in a slow rate, either they need to increase some water. All of this is happening based on their idea itself. They do not have any technical data, anything that will guide them. Like people nowadays, everyone is fascinated by artificial intelligence, right? So they do not have any artificial intelligence that suggests them what's needed to grow more produce. So this is one of the major things that's lacking. And the other one is costly equipments. The new technology, the new equipments are not cheap. They're very expensive. And the other one is monitoring soil quality. I don't know how many of you are aware, but we do have devices that monitor soil quality and suggest you the humidity in the soil, all the minerals and everything in the soil. And also it also suggests you, based on the soil quality, what can be grown so that it will maximize your produce. So we're not using that in the agriculture sector in Nepal. And the other one is funds. As all of you might be aware as well, if a farmer has a certain amount of crops in his field, and due to some reasons, either it didn't work, or they had a wrong amount of seeds, or they forgot to water it, or if due to any natural calamities, it gets destroyed. It's said that once a farmer's harvest is destroyed, they lag behind by 2 years. It takes them two years to recover from that loss, which is a huge thing. So that means that amount of land is unusable, or is not giving that amount of produce for the next 2 years. So, and because the only reason, because they will not have the money to harvest it again or increase their processes and all those things. And the other problem is delivery and pickup. This is from my personal experience actually. When I was going to Upper Mustang, there were lots of apples. And they picked the apples and they were storing it in baskets, right? And we talked to them, so how are you going to deliver it? They said, one day a truck might come and they'll take it, and it doesn't come to Kathmandu, if you're aware. The maximum it goes to is Pokhara. The Mustang apples, they don't come to Kathmandu. And they do not know when the truck's going to come and when they will be delivered. So it gets spoiled. It's a waste, actually, basically. And the major issue is human resource. At the moment, like we all know the situation of immigrants in Nepal. So human resource is also our biggest threat in agriculture. So now, let's go to the solution. I think that's the interesting part. How can we use technology? How can we use digital technology? How can we digitalize Nepal to solve all these problems in the agriculture field? First, we need, like the first problem was regarding weather forecast and all those things. So what we can do is, we can develop, everyone here, we do have all the APIs and everything available. We have sensors and we can collect data from the sensors. We have that available. All we need is a platform. We can develop websites, mobile apps, systems, and anything what we want that can take the data and show it to the farmers. So before I go into this, I forgot to say one thing. I'll tell you that. So lots of you will think that how can the farmers use websites? How can the farmers use mobile apps? So before we directly go to the farmers, what we need to understand is we highly have to increase private companies' participation throughout the sectors that I'm going to talk about. We have to make that clear. Private companies have to be involved in all these sectors for it to work, for us to digitalize the sectors. That's one of the major parts. And like I said, how can we involve private companies by, like I said, the tax holiday kind of schemes and more incentives kind of things. And the other one is, like I said, in the beginning I talked about my grandma and my iPhone, right? So how do we link to this is, if I am able to teach my 80-year-old grandma to use an iPhone, to open Facebook, to type in Ramroad, to like the pictures, I can definitely teach an 18-year-old who is at least 8th grade standard, right? I can teach him to use certain amount of apps to fill the agriculture detail, to fill the water supply and all those things. I'm sure we can teach that as well. So this is one of the major things that we need to consider before we move into the sectors. So let's keep in mind the private sector involvement, and we are capable enough to teach those people how to use the systems and how to use mobile apps and how to use websites. So yeah, now let's move ahead. So the first thing is like developing apps, websites that shows you weather forecast for the next certain amount of hours, and that takes in the sensors data, and that gives you the process of what needs to be done now so that you get the maximum amount of produce from your field. So we can do that. And the other one is, like I said, the equipments are very costly. So what we could do is we could create a platform, an online platform, where everyone, like, what is it called? Hamro Bazaar, where you have all these equipments, you keep it there, and you keep it as a rental platform, where I am a farmer, I do not use tractors all throughout the year. I use them when I need them, then I have them free. So at that time, I can lend it to someone else. They'll give me money as well, and the other person doesn't have to buy it as well. So we need to create a platform, a rental platform as well. And like I talked about soil sensors. And the other one is tracking the trucks. Like I said, the farmers, they do not have an idea of when the vehicle is coming for pickup and when it's going to deliver and all those things. So what we can do is, we can have trackers. We can track the trucks so that if they have apples in their trees, they know the truck is coming tomorrow based on the tracker. So before that, they can pluck the apple so that it doesn't get spoiled. So this will definitely help. This will definitely give the farmers an opportunity to sell at least 90% of their produce. At the moment, I think only 40 or 50% of the produce is being sold on the market. The rest, everything is spoiled. So I think this will have a positive impact as well. And the other point is, and for the financial sector, I think one of the sectors can be giving, encouraging farmers to harvest more by providing them low interest loans. That's not part of a digital thing, but at least that will help them to grow more, invest more on harvesting, and then together with that we can use the digitalization process to even increase it even better. And the other thing is lack of human resources. Even if we digitalize everything, you have sensors and everything. If there's no one working, it's a huge challenge. So what we can do, what can we do? So what we need to do is we need to bring at least 60 to 70% of Nepalese people who have gone as immigrant workers, we need to bring them back. How can we do it? We need to advertise. As soon as we start digitalizing the agriculture sector, we need to advertise in a massive scale. We need to open vacancies, we need to provide them, because like if it's going to a digital level, and if there are private sectors involved, the salary and everything, that will not be something that will discourage the farmers to come back to Nepal and work on their own fields. So I think that needs to be done as well. So we can use the digital platform to advertise that Nepal is going digital, that this kind of technology in the agriculture sector is this amount of secure than what it used to be. So this needs to be done. So that's all from the agriculture part of things. There are lots of other things as well, but like it'll take a lot of time if I start discussing everything. So now the major sector, the next sector that we'll be talking about is the healthcare. Healthcare is one of the crucial sectors, not only in Nepal, but everywhere, throughout the world. I think this healthcare sector needs to be one of the first priorities where we start digitalizing. And in this same case, let me give you a short out of the topic thing. I talked to one of my friends that I'm going to Gabfest and I'll be talking about healthcare sector and I'll be talking about this kind of things to get his ideas on it. And he was like, we already have it. And I said, what do you have? And he said, like you're talking about keeping patients' records and all these automated systems and all that. We already have it. Grandy has it. And I was like, so we need to clear our mind that all these urban cities we cannot call the urban cities as Nepal. All of us having our smartphone, all of us using app doesn't mean we have a digital Nepal. There's lots more to Nepal than just Kathmandu, Lalitpur, Bhaktapur, Pokhara and Butol. So that's the same thing I told him. So let's move towards the health sector. So the major problem in the rural part, not only health sector, but the major problem in the rural part of Nepal is internet connectivity. The mobile networks are there. I just read an article from Nepal Telecom that they have covered 90% of Nepal with their mobile networks, which is a very good thing. And I also read the news that with this government, the setup has started, and they have planned to spread optical fibers throughout Nepal within the next 2 years. So it's a very good thing, and this is the right time to digitalize Nepal. So let's hope for the best, and let's hope that we have better connectivity in the rural areas as well. So that is the major part that we need to have. And the other part is, like, we've been knowing this since we were children, that the rural personnel, they have to work 2 days to reach the health post. There are no any, like some people might have it near, but some people have to even work 3 days, 4 days to reach the basic level of health post, not even a hospital. So that's one of the major issues. And the other issue is lack of awareness about personal hygiene and sanitation processes. And the other major issue is lack of healthcare talents. As I know, lots of my friends, brothers, and sisters, they are doctors. Even my own sister is a doctor. And I know, like, what happens is everyone wants to work in Kathmandu. Everyone wants to join. They either do not work or they want to work in Kathmandu. So this is a tragedy, actually. But let's see how, I'll be discussing a bit more on it as well, how we can improve this. So now let's talk about the solutions. Like I said, internet connectivity coming in the next 2 years. That's positive. I think it will come. And the other one was out of reach of the health post. So what can be done? If we have internet connectivity, like if there's a patient in the top of the hill and is very in a serious condition, it's an urgent case, at least, because like the village people, they are not aware about CPRs and first aid training, obviously, right? So what we could do is, at least if we have private companies involved there, or if we have anyone with a smartphone or anything, we could at least do a video conference with the doctor to at least get rid of the urgent scenario and then bring the person to the health post. Because what will happen in the next 2 days if the person is urgent, they'll die in the middle of the hill. So at least for the basic first aid training, and if anyone is out of breath or anything, at least the doctor could tell him we can educate anyone to at least do this and press on the chest, right? So we can use digital technology to at least teach them how to do that. And the other part is, this might sound strange, but it actually happens in many parts in the world. In Nepal, I think every one of us watch movies, and nowadays drones are the highlight of any movie. Anything shot from the top, excellent. Every movie has it. And they focus on hills and roads. I don't know why. So, if it's being used in the movies, and it's like all the people do not use GoPro, they have GoPros, they have some high-tech cameras that weigh around, huge amount of like 2 kg, 3 kg. They use those cameras on the drones as well to shoot from top. So if we can use the drones for entertainment, we can definitely use it in the healthcare sector as well. So like I said, if there's an urgent case somewhere, we can definitely fly medicines through the drone and drop it there. That will, I think if we are capable enough to do this, we'll definitely decrease the mortality rate in Nepal. And the other ones awareness, same case. At the moment, we do have awareness programs as well. Like in the TVs and in the radios, there are awareness programs. But apart from that, we have NGOs and INGOs who visit lots of places, rural places in Nepal, and they give awareness sessions to people, right? So that happens very rarely. It's not a frequent event. So to increase that, what we can do is similar. We can use drones. We can use drones, circle around the valley, right, and then distribute leaflets. Or maybe advertise with a speaker through drones, do whatever we need to use the technology. We need to think about planning. We need to plan how the drones could be used in the health sector as well. And like I talked about sanitation and all this, we could distribute those materials as well. Yeah, I understand. Initially, no one will understand. Because like even the NGOs and INGOs, they can team up with the technological field, and then first they can aware people about what's coming and what's happening. Next time, every time we do not need to go. After that, we can just drop the product so that they know how to use it, they know what to do with it. So we need to use technology. So this way, definitely, like we can figure out, it will definitely decrease time and require very less amount of effort. And one of the crucial parts, lack of health care talent, right? Like I said, no one willing to go to rural areas. So what we need to do now is, so the government comes in this perspective as well. So what I believe needs to be done is, we need to have provisions that we provide incentives incentive programs. Like we can also set a rule, like to be a doctor in Kathmandu, you at least need to have worked 2 years in a rural area somewhere. These kind of things can be introduced. And this is not only in Nepal. We're talking about, by healthcare talent, I also mean foreigners, foreign doctors. So what we can do is we can use the digital platform to introduce incentive programs. If you are a foreign doctor and if you're looking for incentive programs to better your experience, we have opportunities in Nepal, in these parts of Nepal, to work in a health post that will help you in the long run of your career, that will give you experience that you never had. So we can use digital technology to advertise that as well. So yeah, that's more of it about healthcare. Now let's move on to tourism. Tourism, one of the biggest aspects of sectors of Nepal that brings in revenue, foreign revenue. So that's why I kept it in my topic, as it's one of the most important sectors in Nepal as well. So let's talk about, so I'll give you an example here as well. 5 years or 6 years ago, no one cared about internal tourism. There are two kinds of tourism, one's international, one's internal. No one cared about internal tourism. Recently, yeah, we do get lots of advertisements like visit Rara Lake with a discount of this, 15,000 rupees one night stay, Rara Lake. We see lots of advertisements. It didn't happen before. So, and I'll give you a very nice example. There's a song from a film, I think, where you have Samragi and they shoot at a Tilicho lake, right? Once that song got released, there was a jam in the Tilicho's trekking route. Everyone was visiting Tilicho. So, yeah, this is an example that digital technology will definitely improve tourism. And I'm talking about internal tourism. So what about international tourism? The problems first. Not enough marketing at all. And no promotional activities. Like I said, I was in Germany 1 month ago, and when we were there, since I was in Germany, I was struck that I was in Germany, and then every single day in my Facebook, I used to get ads saying, fly to Barcelona for 10 euros. We did fly to Barcelona, but I didn't go in 10 euros. So these kind of targeted marketing events is not happening in Nepal. It's happening internally, but not internationally. So that's one of the biggest problems. And the other is language barriers in guides. So like I said, we're not talking about urban cities, we're talking about outside of these urban areas. Lack of language barriers. And then the other one is, we do not have much information, much guidelines or maps available for the tourist. When a tourist visits Basantapur, all he has to do is he just sees. If there is no information, what was here, what's the white darbar about, what's this 4-5-story temple about, we do not have much information. When was built? What was the purpose of it? Why do we have lions in front of all those temples? No information at all. So this is one of the problems. And like I said, domestic tourism is not considered. And we do not have enough mobile apps or websites or anything that provides a huge amount of information or that makes tourists feel safe or feel free to travel around Nepal. We do not have that much amount of information available. So the solutions. Like I said, everyone, I think this is a huge topic at the moment. There are two huge topics in IT sectors at the moment. One's machine learning, data analysis, data scraping, and machine learning kind of thing, and the other one's digital marketing. These are two of the biggest topics in IT industry at the moment. So what we need to do, we not only, by we I mean the entire country actually. I'm referring for the government, for the business, for everyone. We need to increase digital marketing for the country as a whole. We do that. I have multiple products in my company, and then what we do, we use digital marketing, we target the audience. We have a system, right? So first I plan I plan my audience first. And now the technology is so easy, you can target it based on male or female, you can choose the age groups, you can choose the location, you can choose the interest, everything. So what we need to do here is, we need to create certain kinds of marketing strategies, some certain kinds of promotional events, and target it to the foreigners. because we do have the data, which country, like foreigners from which country are the most in Nepal. We definitely have the data. So we need to target those countries as well and increase our promotional events. Like if I am there and I see a sticker saying, fly to Barcelona for 10 euros, we need to have the same kind of stickers to all the foreigners who are using digital platform, showing them, fly with Nepal Airlines in $50. Not every time, sometimes in a year. We could have those problems, but it's not happening at the moment. We need to do this. And the other ones, language barrier, like I said, it's a huge problem. And what can we do from a digital perspective is, first, without the digital, we need to have a certain rule that if you want to be a professional tourist guide, at least you need to have certain amount of English language level. You need to be in a certain level. And how can you use digitalize platform is, I used it as well because when I was in Europe, I couldn't speak the language, so I had Google Translate in me, and then I typed everything. I went to, if I had to go to a shop and I have to order anything, I used to type it and I had to translate it in their language and I had to show it to them. So we could do the same. We could use mobile apps like Google Translate, and there are lots of translating apps, iTranslate. So we could use those apps, we could teach those guys to use those apps to communicate with the foreigners. And let me tell you, all foreigners do not speak English. It's only the people you know, like from England, America, New Zealand, Australia, these people speak English, but lots of foreigners do not speak English as well. And like I said, the other one is, this is one of the projects that I have been involved in as well before. We used to work with beacons. I don't know if anyone is aware of it. These are small devices. And what happens is you can stick it anywhere you want, and it runs through Bluetooth. So if you have a phone and you have Bluetooth enabled, then whenever you reach the area of the beacon, it sends you a message. And that message can be programmed. And whatever message, it's generally used for promotions and offers in a mall or something like that. So I have worked with those kind of beacons. So why I used beacons is we do not have to go very far. There are lots of other technologies as well now. Nowadays we have apps, not in Nepal, but outside of Nepal, what we have is you go to a tourist place, it shows that you are there, and you can use an app. You can even click pictures, and then when they scan the building, they'll show you what's the building about, and it's that advanced. We don't need to be that advanced. We can at least use those beacons. We can use those beacons everywhere in the tourist places, and then we can tell the tourists that turn your Bluetooth on so that whenever you go, you will have information flowing in your phone. Wherever you go, you'll have information in your phone. So that way they will not be deprived of information about our Nepali culture, about our Nepali artifacts and everything. And one thing we need maps in different places. We need to have touch screens and all those fancy items. It's not a necessity, but that's what drives tourists in. They want to see those kind of things. Yeah, every tourist, they have a thinking that, yeah, Nepal is this kind of country, we will not have this kind of service. But when they come here and see those kind of services, they feel more secure. They definitely do. And they travel more freely all around Nepal. They invest more in Nepal. So we need to have those kind of technologies. Yeah, and like I said, we need to focus more on domestic tourism. It's one of the biggest. I think everyone has subscribed to RONB page, Routine of Nepal Banda. They had a post 3 days ago saying, in average, foreign tourists invest around, how much was it, $4 or $40 a day. And that's nothing. If we, bunch of people, me and my friends, 5 people, go to a place, we spend a huge amount of money than that. So we definitely need to increase domestic tourism. And how? It's much easier than international tourism. Like I said, digital marketing is the best thing that we can do now. Digital marketing will, if all these travel companies, at the moment only the travel companies are doing it, but we need it from a government level as well. To advertise in the social platform, in the magazines, everywhere. We need to increase domestic tourism that way. Yeah, and other parties, like I said, we do not have much mobile apps or websites targeting tourists, because tourists, they are used to using this kind of applications. Even now, us, right, people living in the urban cities, if we have a slight pain on the stomach, we Google pain on the right side of the stomach. And it ultimately leads to cancer though, but still, we do Google it. So if we are using technologies that way, the foreigners, they are used to technologies. So we need to develop apps, websites that will help them for everything, for finding the best restaurants in Nepal, for finding, for calling in taxis, for transportation and everything. And this is one of the major things lacking in Nepal. See, what happens is, all these tourists, they come to Nepal, no one wants to ride on a taxi, because everyone knows taxi is expensive. Taxi is expensive all around the world. But at the moment, we do not have a proper system for the local transport, and we do not have information anywhere about local transport, from like which number bus to take from where to where. So yeah, so we talked about the tourism sector, and that's it from my side from the tourism part. So basically, I have a certain points as a conclusion. So what are the key factors to consider for a digital Nepal, to digitalize Nepal? First is digital connectivity. Like I said, every place needs to be connected through the internet. And the other one is entrepreneurship, like helping startups with growing further and to develop and to encourage them in developing new things. And the other major part was private sector participation, like until and unless, like by giving them tax-free holidays and all those kind of things, we need to encourage private sector participation. And the other one's talents and skills development. So this is one of the major part as well. So with a vision to digitalize Nepal, to see Nepal as a digital platform, we need to introduce all these digital technologies and all these IT-related things from the primary level as well, like from 8th standards or 9th standards. Not in a big level, but at least we need to start, which is not happening now. I think it's a basic start, but how I added this at the last moment because Friday I had an interview, not for a professional, but we're hiring interns, and I had an interview and I had asked them to bring their final year project. In the final year project, I went through them and it was ticked, everything was right, he passed. And when I looked there's if anyone's from IT field, we have for the database, we have an ER diagram that's called entity relationship diagram, right? It was completely messed. It was not even right. It was completely messed, but the teacher has corrected it and it was passed. So this kind of things need to stop. If we are looking for a digital Nepal, if we are thinking of digitalizing Nepal going forward, this has to stop. So we need to include this kind of things from a primary level, so that when you reach college, then it's easier for you to understand and you can think about more than what you have studied. So last thing before I sign off, this is one of the major things that needs to happen before we start digitalizing Nepal, and that is we need to have a digital biometric identity of each and every person in Nepal. Without that, I think it's very difficult, though we digitalize the agriculture sector or the health sector or the tourism sector. So I think, first of all, if anyone's interested, you can learn, like research about it as well, about a digital biometric identification of every Nepali. Thank you, that's what I'm saying.